been a nurse for 27 years, plus 3 years for my degree. I think you would have all seen on Facebook, St John of God's in Geraldton has now no longer can have any birthing women. The birth suite at St John's Public Hospital was closed last year and moved everything across to St John's. So those poor women now have no birthing opportunities in their own community. We saw also on Facebook that Royal Perth have, someone released on Facebook that Royal Perth are saying they're having bed closures. Bed closures means no staff. There's plenty of beds. This has been coming for a very long time. We have now got about 2,000 healthcare workers out of a job, and we were short-staffed before we started. I am petrified for my patients, for the patients in our community. We love our job. We stand with them. We are ready and willing to work. We were safe before and we know how to be safe again. And we would never put our patients at risk. And for a government to coerce us unlawfully into doing something that we don't want to do is abominable. All I can say, the last speech I want to say, a quote from the great Graham Hood, the pilot. He said, "These guys will have to stand in the shadow of their own conscience." I'm standing in the shadow of mine, and I know I'm doing the right thing by supporting everyone here to stop these medical mandates. Thank you.
The bed state emergency and the nursing shortage and all of our emergency services shortage has been in crisis for years. Fix the problem. You keep stating that you're going to save 200 lives with your roadmap. How many lives could each and every one of these healthcare professionals and emergency service workers save on a day in a job? More than 200.
So I'm a doctor and a former nurse and midwife. Love my job. I'm very passionate about patient advocacy, informed choice, bodily autonomy, and I will stand up for that every single day. I'm absolutely devastated that Mark McGowan has taken away our right to work. We are all in the service of others, and we've chosen these professions because we have a calling to assist the community. And having that taken away from us because we don't consent to an experimental medical procedure is just criminal.
I'm a registered nurse. I'm still registered at the present moment. I have been registered for 56 years. It is then an absolute disgrace that the very people that you most need around in any emergency, and in my opinion this is not actually an emergency, but nonetheless the people that you most need who are committed to the safety of other people and not their own safety, you've thrown them out the door because they have made a choice not to have an invasive medical intervention, which is what this job is. It is invasive and it's a medical intervention.
I've been in emergency and I've seen pulmonary embolisms, I've seen hemorrhagic strokes, I've seen anaphylaxis, I've seen heart attacks, I've seen myocarditis, pericarditis, and I'm talking people from their teenage years up until their 60s and 70s. Predominantly in their 20s and 30s is what we were seeing. Everyone asks me, why are doctors and nurses not reporting this? And they are underreported, I can tell you that right now. The reason why, there's a lot of reasons that we're scared as professions. We have been given gag orders by AHPRA not to talk about it. GPs have just been given orders that they're not to interfere with the vaccine rollout in any way. We get guidance from other entities that tell us what D-dimer measure and what platelet count and what red cell count constitutes an adverse reaction. And how would they know that after how long have we been doing this? How do they know what these adverse reactions are? They are happening and they're not rare, and doctors are underreporting and nurses are underreporting because it's made very difficult for us to do so. We get ostracised for speaking out against, for going against the grain, basically. You get made a fool of, shamed by your colleagues. We're also very heavily indoctrinated. We've all done many years of university and we've gone through the rote system of learning, and you will do this and you will do that. But as one of our RNs said before, we also learn that we should stand up for patient rights and we should respect them. And we're not being allowed to do that, not even for ourselves.
I don't watch mainstream TV because I don't like the corrupt media. I accidentally walked past the TV the other day. I didn't catch the start of the interview with McLeod, but he said something about the hospitals being an overload and record ramping times, and he made a comment of latent COVID response is responsible for it. Perhaps some of the medical people could explain what that is, since we have no COVID people in hospital.
What I'm going to say today is I want to send a shout out to the nurse that was arrested, I understand, for injecting the teenager, or them not injecting him. I think at best it's an act of civil disobedience. Do we really need to incarcerate somebody for that? Really? Is that what it's come to? You are responsible for what you give. So if you give this vaccine to a person, you are responsible ultimately if something goes down. Nobody else. Because you should have put your critical thinking into play and question if you're unsure.
I've been an emergency nurse for 7 years and 3 years of university, so 10 years in the healthcare system. And I just wanted to speak today because I have so many friends in nursing and so many doctors, so many paramedics, police officers who can't speak for themselves because they have families to feed, mortgages to pay, and they are so frightened of losing their jobs over this mandate that they comply and they're silenced.
So it's very difficult to stand up and go against what everybody else is saying. The reporting system is very difficult. They make it that way. People in emergency don't have time to sit down and do a half-an-hour report on an adverse reaction. And then there's the fear of being investigated, suspended, deregistered. That we're all living under that shadow. Personally, I've had family members to say they never want to speak to me again because I've tried to just inform them, not tell them what to do. I'm pro-choice, I'm not telling anybody what to do, but I couldn't live with myself if I didn't provide that information to my family. So I've had family members just say they don't want to speak to me again. Just this morning, I'm a mum of 4. My 2 youngest are in year 11 and year 12, and my daughter's in year 11, but her boyfriend's in year 12. And they're wanting to go to the Levers. And just a couple of days ago, we were told that the Levers are mandated to have at least 1 dose. I've had multiple conversations with my kids about this. I've shown them videos, I've shown them footage of patients who've had adverse reactions. I've given them written information and had multiple conversations. And they think I'm mad, I'm sure. But I don't care. But just this morning, my daughter had text messaged my husband, because she knows when to do it to me, obviously, asking about Levers, going to Levers. So I'm personally having to wonder how this is going to turn out, and I really just don't want to see anything happen to my own daughter, but also to anybody else. And that's why I get up and stand up for this. So, all of you are united in this I applaud you, and I do say we won't consent to these mandates. We have a right to choice, and it's time to say no. Stand together united.
I'm a nurse of 15 years. I received my termination yesterday. I stand united with these frontline workers here with me today. Our message is clear. We stand to uphold ethics and human rights. We say no to medical mandates.
I have worked as a health support worker for the last 3 years in emergency. I have been 13 years in a hospital. I would like us all to unite together, because the further they try to drive us apart, the closer we will come. We've united in the last 6 weeks and gained brothers and sisters that we didn't know 3 months ago. We will move forward, we won't be broken, and we will unite and move forward. I thank you all for the courage that you have brought to this in protecting our community and standing by them to say no to medical mandates and yes to the freedom that we were given with our God-given right. Thank you.
Hello, I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 4 years. And a teacher before that, and mostly a mother. They are being coerced into having these vaccines to keep food on the table for their children, to be able to support their families, to be able to keep shelter over their head. And it is ethically and morally wrong. I am watching my son in the forces and those in the forces being forced, coerced, so that they have to have the vaccine. I feel for my nursing colleagues who nobody is speaking up for on the ward, and the fact that they have to keep their mouths shut so that they do not jeopardise their registration status.
I'm a disability support worker and a teacher's aide. I've worked in palliative care, I've worked in respite care, I've been a foster carer. Like everyone here, I've dedicated my life to humanity and making sure that the fellow human is okay and well looked after. Obviously, I've lost my job now. Like I was saying to some people earlier, I know 2 elders that have passed away from the vaccine, from hemorrhaging in the brain. And I know 22 people in total that have been injured from the vaccine in Western Australia alone. So that I hope you all know that this system needs to go, and that we, as the will of the people, can create change together. And this is the kick up the butt that we needed, and that's how I'm going to present. So, unite everyone, let's go forward together.
G'day everybody, my name is Gary Donaldson. I'm a senior constable and a police officer for 25 years. I've got a cancer much. In that time I've been hospitalised several times due to injuries. I've sacrificed a marriage and I've sacrificed enough for this job. I will not sacrifice my principles or my beliefs. No to medical mandates.
Hi, my name's Dave Egan. I'm a police officer for 25 years, we're just short. As somebody mentioned earlier, the fundamentals of medicine is to question everything and question it again. Same is the fundamentals of policing. When you arrive at a situation, you ask questions, you don't accept the first explanation given to you. I guess one thing I really want to say to not everyone here, but everyone else who's had the jab through fear of an alleged pandemic or a virus that's going to kill us all, or those who've been threatened with loss of livelihood and to be put on the street, you're not alone, and it's okay to be fearful, but we're not being told the truth. And just a quick shout out to my kids, Mjobnir and jury, who may end up in a tent pretty short to come the 1st December. I think they'll be excited personally. That's the way I'm going with it, but thanks very much.
Worcester. I'm a senior firefighter, served with DFIS for nearly 10 years. I love my job. I'm willing to risk my life to save that of another, and I'm out of a job come December 1st. Now, Mark McGowan is meant to be looking out for the people of WA. How is laying off thousands of frontline workers, nurses, police, firefighters, teachers, prisons? Most of these areas are understaffed and we're going to lay off thousands of them. That's not looking after the people of WA.
The thing about this vaccine is that we don't know the long-term impacts. There's no long-term data. And that's why I'm against medical coercion of this vaccine, just because we don't know the full extent of the effects of this. And I'm currently still working in my job, but I'll just have to wait and see what happens with my employment for the end of this year. But I'm doing everything I can to stop this, including running as a candidate for the state election earlier this year. And the next federal election, I'll be there helping whoever candidate will stand with us.
My name's Paul, I'm a prison officer, have been for nearly 7 years now. Done a lot of things. I finally found what I love to do, which is what I'm currently doing until December 1st. My wife as well, in about a week's time, her deadline will be up. She also is getting coerced into having it. She's not going to have it. It's our choice, isn't it? It should be our choice. Yeah. So, come December 1st, I've got 2 beautiful teenagers, a couple of fur kids. I love them all, probably equally. Come December 1st, I do not know how I am going to support my family. Mark McGowan, if you can hear us, this is a family that's probably going to be on the street thanks to these mandates. Ironically, in 2 days' time, it's Remembrance Day. There was an email floating in at work just pointing this out, and pointed out in the email was for everyone to have a minute of silence to pay our respects for those who went before us to fight for our democracy and freedom. And at the bottom of the email, make sure you get your jabs. How is that democracy and freedom has been taken away from us? These ridiculous mandates has been taken our democracy and freedom away from us. Remembrance Day, 2 days' time. What are we celebrating for on that day? Where is the democracy? Where is our freedom? That is not freedom. This is not freedom.
I think we have to be united. You know, it's beautiful people all here. You know, all open faces, smiling. But we have to understand, you know, it's not just rally for enjoyment. It's a rally for our lives. Our lives in the stake. So we have to be united. We have to be strong. They're not gods. They can't dictate us. They not give us birds. You know, they're not providing our food on the table. They're not providing our accommodation. We are earning it by our work. Because now, some of you wake up. Police forces, prison services. You know, it's very nice to see you guys over here. Because before we were just alone.
Hi everybody, I'm Brendan. I'm a prison officer. I'm stand to lose my job on the 1st like everyone else. My family's got a little bit of history in this great state. My grandfather's forefathers came on the ship Gilmore when it was named the Swan River Colony back hundreds of years ago. Now my forefathers didn't fight for this to turn into tyranny because they have worked and built these buildings that these people hide in, and then they disrespect the people that contributed to the state. So we've all got families, we've all got kids, and we've worked very hard for this pandemic. I know that the prison officers, they had to fight very hard because things stopped, services stopped, visits stopped. We had to go up against angry prisoners. We had to facilitate them. And at the end of it, we get dismissed and disrespected. Mark, you're gutless, mate. You really are gutless. God bless you all.
Both that training centre and my employer are asking me to make this decision, and I don't feel comfortable with it. I don't feel comfortable next year seeing my students and possibly having to look after the stress or mental health if parents don't consent, and that child possibly being told to make a decision that they probably can't make. So my name's Yasmin, this is Priscilla, she's also a teacher.
Thank you, Yasmin. Yeah, we stand for the teachers. My concern is primarily with the children that we teach. You're all hurting, society's hurting. We're going to have to teach these children next year whose parents have lost their jobs. They may not have a home, they may not even have an education. And my concern is with the children. Leading up to this, principals are planning for next year. They don't know what's going to happen to our schooling system. They don't know how many teachers they're going to lose. They don't know if they can staff the schools. They don't know very much at all. And we're heading into a very unknown situation. My concern is the impacts that has on our children. You know, we're meant to be protecting them, advocating for inclusivity, advocating for education, critical thinking, understanding, learning, knowledge about our world. It can't just be one way, it has to be a plethora of ideas and understanding. And telling teachers, you have to do this or you lose your job, it doesn't advocate for anything that we're teaching our children as teachers. So we stand with you, everybody in these services. We stand solidly with you, and we'll keep fighting until they tell us that you leave your job, we'll leave our jobs, but we are going to stand strong and advocate for our human rights and our children's abilities to make choices and us to make our own informed choices without coercion. So my hat off to all of you here, and let's stand strong together.
I'm absolutely disgusted and ashamed in the actions of all governments over the last 18 months. I think the level of government overreach that we have seen is basically tyrannical, and you don't protect the weak by destroying the strong. And you certainly don't attack our emergency service workers like yourself. So please accept my apology.
Through a political forum, and when I say political forum, I'm taking that forum to the Senate, because I am a former federal senator. I have now got other former federal senators coming out and backing what we're doing. We're currently, at the moment, filing an application in Commonwealth jurisdiction under Section 13 of the Crimes Act against the mandates that are going on. They cannot mandate anything without consent of the recipient.
They're mandating and doing things against the people's will, which is neither democratic nor is it constitutional. So we need to stand up for our rights, and we need to make our voices heard. Every single one of you that's standing up right now, don't give up your day job. Do not resign or quit. If you have to go on stress leave, if you have to go to fair work, but don't give up your jobs. None of these mandates are legal.
The first message is thank you very much for your courage and your integrity in coming out and demonstrating in support of freedom. This is what the issue is really about here. It's totally about freedom. That's the only issue. And yet here we are, we've got nurses being coerced, intimidated, threatened, bullied into breaking their own informed consent. So that is fundamental, and that's what we've got wrong in our society now. Queensland has just come out with a an injection apartheid system where they're not going to let they're not going to let people enter venues, including some services, without being injected. That is totally wrong. What they're doing is what you find that this is really a form of control. When you strip it all down, it's just control versus freedom. This is a form of control. So this is medical tyranny. It is just completely against Australia's way of life. And I know you're there for this reason. So thank you very much. I first of all want to acknowledge and thank you for being there. I know some of you will be doing so at great personal risk because the medical establishment in this country is coming looking for nurses and doctors who dare to speak up.
So let's all try and unite and try and find sameness. How are we the same? And all the nurses, fireys, police officers, teachers, everyone here knows we all bleed the same, we all die the same. And when you're in an emergency, it does not matter what colour, what race, what your choices are. We try to save your life as best as we can, no matter what. And this is not a time to separate.
So just a reminder that we are actually over 3,000. There's a few hundred here today. Obviously many of us are still out there performing our roles and couldn't be here today. So we stand for the group of over 3,000 frontline workers from police, healthcare, prisons, ambulance, education, fire and rescue.
So I think we should link arms one more time, face the Parliament and send them our intent and our energy in asking for our Premier, Mark McGowan, to overturn these mandates. United we stand, but we say no to medical mandates.
United we stand, we say no to medical mandates.